So you want to start a business. Congratulations. The fact that you have decided that you would like to start your own business is actually something that is very positive. But then the question is, what type of business do you want to start? What kind of homework have you done? Are you employed at the moment? If you are employed, when do you quit your job? And these are questions that are always asked many times. But then if you don't plan properly, you might end up regretting at the end of the day. You know, what is the biggest mistake I ever made when I wanted to start a business?
I'm happy. We've been talking for a little while now. People were telling me to come meet you because I'm in the city now.
Yes.
I'm happy. Like I'll just say right now, for my channel, we got a tour of the place now, and this guy is amazing.
Thank
Look
you.
at
Biggest mistake I ever made. While I was in South Africa, I was working for the casino. Nice job, well paying, but I wasn't happy. I wanted to work for myself. So I decided that I needed to quit my job and start a business. So I was researching what kind of business am I going to do. Then I said, okay, before I moved to South Africa, I used to I used to sell curios. I used to come from Malawi, buy curios and take them to South Africa and sell them. And at the time, we used to use public transport. I used to get in the bus, buy my stuff and put them in a box and get in a bus and then arrive at Bedbridge. We'll be asked to take everything out of the bus, and then the customs department will check the stuff, and then they will charge us to pay duty for that, load it back in the bus, arrive in Johannesburg, and then in Johannesburg, I will look for another bus, load in the bus, and come out all the way to Cape Town. It used to be a very, very daunting process because then I have to move with my goods that I'm going to go and sell in South Africa. But like enough, at that time, there were a few shops that were supporting me. I used to sell in a curio shop in Stellenbosch. So they used to support me. So they would give me an order to say, Ted, when you're coming from Malawi, bring us this and that and that and that. So when I come, I'll always just go straight to them and deliver, and then I get my money. The only trouble that I used to face is to transport the curios from Malawi to South Africa. So while I was working in the casino in South Africa, a few years later, I decided, why can't I be the person who solves that challenge? I will be, I will get a transport that I will be transporting curios for people when they are taking the stuff from Malawi to sell in Cape Town. Very good idea. So I thought, who was going to be my customers? It's Malawians who are doing a trade between Malawi and South Africa, selling curios. So these people, some of them, they used to carry a lot of stuff, like they would carry almost 1 ton of goods. So it was always going to be difficult for them to transport from Malawi to go to Cape Town. So it was a good idea. So while I was working in the casino, I started saving money. And after I saved enough money, I went in town, in Cape Town, and then I found a truck which had a closed back, and it was actually a 3-ton truck. So I bought it and took it to a mechanic. There was a mechanic that I used to know there. He fixed the car and even spray painted for me. So I was still working in the casino. That time I was working in Kimberley. I brought the truck all the way to Kimberley, parked it there, trying to figure out when can I quit my job and start this business. Now, while I was working in the casino, I used to work with another white guy by the name of Ivan. And every day we used to talk about, how it can be so fantastic for one to be self-employed. So I told him about my idea, and he loved the idea. And he said to me, Ted, I can join you in your idea so that we can team up together. So I told him this idea is about people who are buying stuff in Malawi and they want to sell them in South Africa. So we will be transporting this stuff for them. But also what we can do, if we can get ourselves a van, we can actually, transport their stuff in the truck and also put the people in the van so that we transport them all the way to Cape Town. So they don't have to get in a bus. So they have got a one-way trip. So they get in a van and straight all the way to Cape Town. Sound like a brilliant idea, isn't it? All right. So me and Ivan, we agreed because we were all working in the same casino in Kimberley. So we decided to quit our jobs. Ivan was on contract, so his contract was expiring. So when his contract expired, I also took leave from work, and then we joined together. His wife managed to organize a van for him. They bought it through the bank, and it was a VW Calavera. So it could only take very few people. I think it was able to take about eight people in the van, something like together it was 10 people. So our passengers will be 8. Now me and Ivan in front drive, one of us driving, and the other one is a co-driver. So making it 10 people. Then, so what we did, then Ivan suggested that, okay, before we could start working with a truck, why don't we start just transporting people, say, for example, from Cape Town to Malawi and Malawi to Cape Town? Brilliant idea. So I went to Cape Town, started spreading the message and telling Malawians that anybody who wants to travel to go to Malawi, we have got a transport that you can be able to hire from us. And the people were excited. There was a guy there. He said, Ted, I can organize people for you. My wife is going to Malawi, so I can get some more people for you. All right. So what happened? Date was set. Me and Ivan, we were ready. We arrived in Cape Town. So Ivan managed to get this Caraveri, and then he also hired a trailer. So we arrived there. We found a lot of people with goods and waiting for us. And suddenly we started packing people in the van. So you know Malawians, the way we are, we scrambled into the van, we arranged the people in there. But now when we started to pack the goods, we discovered that the people that we had taken in the van had a lot of goods. So the trailer was loaded to capacity. And then we were short 2 people in the van. So we left with about, I think it was 3 people, if not, we left with 5 people. So 6 people. So we were short with 2 people. But then somebody told us that there was people that, somebody who wanted to get also transport from Kimberley. So we decided that from Cape Town, we're gonna go through Kimberley, pick up this gentleman, and then we go. And in the van also, there was somebody who said that there might be somebody in Johannesburg who could get into the van. So we started the trip all the way to Malawi. It was good. You know, we made some money, arrived in Malawi, and when we wanted to come back from Malawi, it was difficult to get people to fit in the van, to accept to travel with us in the van to come to Cape Town. So Ivan had gone to Zomba to see his friend, and he asked me that if I can go in town, load the van with people, and he will find me. So from there, we can start off going to South Africa. So when I arrived there, you know, I decided that I can take people in there, but the fee that I'm going to charge them is going to be less than the bus, because I know when people are traveling from Malawi going to South Africa, for them, it is actually much safer to travel by bus than to travel by minibus. Because, you know, when they travel through the borders, the bus was very helpful, helping them through the immigration and other stuff. So I knew that it was difficult. So to make it attractive, I charged them less than the bus. The idea was that when we came from Cape Town, we were supposed to make enough money to come, because we know that the people have no choice. In Cape Town, they find that if they get in a van and they can travel all the way from Cape Town to Malawi, it becomes much easier for them because they don't have to stop everywhere, like borders, you know, and maybe get in Johannesburg, change the bus, get in another bus. But now they just load their stuff and all the way to Malawi. It's much more convenient. But from Malawi, it was a problem. So we had to make it very attractive. So we were not making enough, we were not going to make enough money from Malawi to Cape Town. My idea was that I'm going to charge them so that it covers for the fuel for us to come all the way to Cape Town, and then we get people again, we go back to Malawi. And for me, the idea was we just started, so we needed people to Malawians to, like to know about our transport. And with word of mouth, it was going to start growing bigger. So when we coming from Malawi, we were now in the future going to have people who would book with us so that we can take them all the way to Cape Town. And at that time, then we can raise the prices. But that was what I thought of the idea. So on this particular day, I loaded the people in the van, and my friend Ivan came with his friend, and his friend was also a white guy who was working at the Wanda National Park. So they came together, and then his friend uh, pulled Ivan aside and he said, Ivan, you must be careful. Malawians sometimes, the way they do their business is not right. So ask Ted how much he's charging the people. You'll find that he's charging them less. And indeed, Ivan, then the friend told him, ask him because he might be charging less money, but his friend left and he went back to his house. Now, Ivan came and he asked me, he said, Ted, how much are you charging the people? So I told him what I'd done. I said, I'm charging the people less than the bus fare because I want to attract them to get into the van. Because if I charge them exactly the amount as the bus or more than the bus, they're not going to come in the bus. He said, Ted, we are not running a charity. How can you charge the people less money? Let me go and talk to them. And at this time, I had loaded the van with people. Some of them had a little bit of goods we had put in the trailer. The only thing we were waiting was for Ivan to come and for us to maybe to ask them to start paying and then we can leave. So Ivan said, no, I'm going to talk to the people. I said, Ivan, don't talk to the people now because I have already agreed with them. And you know what? I know my people. If you charge them more than the bus or just the same amount as the bus, they're going to choose the bus. He said, but why? Because the car, you must remember the Kumbi is got air condition, it's very comfortable. I said, when people travel, we Malawians, when we travel, we don't care about comfortability. What we care about is the amount. If we can save money when we travel, then it's okay. He said, I can't understand that. Why somebody would want to travel from here to Johannesburg and not be happy to travel comfortably. I said, but you must listen to me because I know what I'm talking about. He said, no, let me go and talk to them. So he went there and then he told the people, he said, no, this is how much I'm going to charge you. And his amount was actually more than the bus fare. And then everybody else just took their bags and then they got out of the van. They said, no, we're going to leave the next day. They were very angry with me because they felt like, we were, I almost like I betrayed them. I told them a good price. And then my colleague comes and is asking for more money. It's like we cheated them to say, okay, they lose the bus because at that time the bus had gone already. And now he's charging them more. And then everybody got out of the bus. And it was very, very stressful because we didn't have enough money to travel from Malawi to South Africa. So Ivan said, but why are the people getting out of the bus? I said, I told you that the people would prefer the cheaper means of transport than for them to travel was paying a lot of money. For them, comfort doesn't mean anything. So he still could not understand. I told him, I said, the people, when they're traveling from Malawi going to South Africa, they are not on holiday. They are traveling. Some of them, they're going there to look for jobs. Some of them are going there to do business. So they wouldn't want to spend a lot of money when they're traveling. It's unlike somebody who's traveling like on holiday. When you're on holiday, then you want to travel comfortably and all those kinds of things. And what happened now was that we found a certain guy, was a Somalian guy, Egyptian guys. There were like three of them. They got in the van with us and they paid very little money because they didn't also have enough money. So as we were going, Ivan was very, very upset. And I told him, I said, you should leave everything under my control. Then Ivan said, but Ted, this is not how we, the white people, do business. I said, I understand that's not how we do the business, but you must remember you are doing business with black people. So me, I understand the black people. I know how they operate. So you must leave everything to me. He said, but Ted, we can't run business like this. I said, Ivan, this is the beginning. In the next 5 years, we're not going to use a calavera to transport people. We're going to use a bus. We're going to have coaches that we're going to be traveling with people. He said, but how can we be able to achieve that if we are doing business like this? I said, we will achieve it because what I'm trying to do now is to establish good relationship with the people. We are trying to sell ourselves. At the moment, people don't know us. And some people will think that me, I'm traveling with a white guy, taking them in a van. I might take them somewhere, sell them or something. They're afraid. He said, but Ted, this is not how we do business. I said, I know this is not how we do business, but if you just trust me, you will see what's going to happen. So as we were doing business, me and Ivan, we were like, um, we couldn't understand each other because he was thinking of doing business the Western way. I'm thinking of doing the business the African way. But when you do business, sometimes you need to know who you're going to do business with. And I'm going to talk about this later at the end of this discussion. Anyway, we ended up going to Johannesburg. We dropped those people, and then we decided, to go to Cape Town is going to be costing a lot of money. So why don't we just take people from Johannesburg and bring them to Malawi? So we slept over at Ivan's friends. I remember one of his friends, the name was Neville. So that evening they went out. They asked me, Ted, can we go? We are going out. Do you want to come with us? I said, no, I'm tired. So I stayed behind. So they went out. So when they were there, they had a discussion. And Ivan was busy gossiping about me, complaining and saying, this guy, the way he's doing business. So Nevo said, okay, I'll talk to Ted. So when they came back, Nevo took a paper and a writing pad. And then he started asking me questions. He said, Ted, I want to understand about your business. First of all, let's talk about Ivan. How much have you bought the minibus? And Ivan told them the amount. How much installments must you pay? Ivan told them the amount. And then he said, okay, Ted, the trip from Cape Town to Malawi, how many people can you take? I said, no, we can take up to 8 people. The last time, we couldn't take 8 people because we didn't understand the fact that people will be carrying goods. So when we filled up the number of people to get in the van, but then by the time we were loading their goods, we discovered that the trailer was already full. So we couldn't add more people because the people that were there, they had more goods that they were carrying. So next trip, what we would do is we will ask everybody else to put their goods there, and then we see how much package they have. The ones with the smaller goods, they're going to be the ones who are going to get an option to get into the minibus first. Because if we take people with smaller goods, then we can fill the trailer, and the trailer fills up, but then the car also is going to be filled up. So he was asking how much money we're going to make. I told him. So he did what they call, I don't know what you call it, cash flow or something like that. So he was writing and then deducting and like fuel, how much fuel, because all the fuel that we were spending, we were writing down and everything. Then he came to the conclusion to say, okay, Ted, the business right now, you're not making any profit. You're not going to be making any profit. You're not going to be making any losses. So it's almost like everything was balancing up. So we're not going to be we're not making losses. We're not making profit. But then we were able to pay. We will be able to pay for the vehicle. We'll be able to pay for fuel and everything. Even for us to get some money to eat, it's going to be there. But for us to have money to save aside, we're not going to have that money. So I told him, I said, that's exactly what I'm telling Ivan, that we are in that situation where now we're not making losses, we're not making profit because we have just started. This is trip we are going to make is a second trip. Nobody knows about our business. We never did any marketing. We didn't put it in the newspaper or TV or any form of marketing. So what we have used is just word of mouth. And like enough, we did have people that wanted to get in the car. In fact, we would have loaded people full in the van, but we couldn't load because of the trailer that got full. So, but then the two of them, they were like, but then it's not worth it and all that stuff. And I said, but you are failing to understand. All right, so me and Ivan, we made a trip. We went to Malawi. We loaded in Johannesburg. We had enough people. We made some money. But when we came back from Malawi again, it wasn't good money that we were making. And Ivan still was very unhappy. So all the way to Cape Town, he didn't talk to me. When we arrived, and then I said to him, okay, Ivan, when are we going to do the next trip? He said, I don't know when we're going to do the next trip. We'll see. Oh, but there was a time when he told me, when I said next time, and he said, if there's going to be a next time. So I knew that Ivan had changed his mind. So Ivan pulled out of the business. Now I was left alone with my truck. So I started going to Cape Town again, talking to the people. I said, I've got this truck and whatever, I can take your goods. So some people made me to put there was already people in Malawi who were saying, Ted, we're waiting for you. We have almost 3 tons of goods that we want you to transport. When are you coming? So I said, no, I'm coming. I just want to get to load my truck here, get some people, some stuff, just so I can take to Malawi. And it was difficult for me to load the truck full from Cape Town going to Malawi. All I managed was there was one gentleman who was sending iron sheets. So he gave me the iron sheets and he didn't pay me. He said all the money for the iron sheets was in Malawi. So he said, when you arrive there, when you are delivering the iron sheets, they're going to pay you when you arrive in Malawi. So I put the iron sheets in the truck and then started off. I was using now my own money from my pocket. You see, at this time, I had resigned now from my work and the company had paid me some money. So with my Provident Fund money. So I traveled with the staff to Malawi. When I arrived in Malawi to deliver the things, guess what happened? I was given a lot of stories and that man, he sent the money, he says he's going to send the money. So I left the iron sheets with the people. I never got paid my money. So that was one of the big mistakes that I made. I was never paid my money. All right. The second thing that happened, the people that said that they had almost 3 tons of goods, they called me, we went there and we agreed that at that time I was charging them 3 rands per kg. They said, but Ted, why are you charging us in rands? I said, no, we have to charge in rands because my business has started from South Africa. I'm living, at the time I was living in South Africa, so I'm living in South Africa. I'm charging you in rands because when you pay me, the value that I'm valuing my business, is whatever money I'm making, is going to be in rands. So there was a little bit of arguments there, but eventually they agreed. So we weighed all the goods, loaded them in the truck, and then when it came for them to pay, they said, no, Ted, how can we be able to pay you from Malawi? Because you must know that we are going to take these things and we're going to be selling them in South Africa. When we get paid, that's when we're going to pay you your money. So we argued, but they gave me a little bit of money for me to cover up for some of the expenses, but not all the expenses. So I still used my own money, my Provident Fund money, to transport these things all the way to Cape Town. And just imagine all the fees that I paid on the road, the toll gates, I paid, on the borders, all the fees that I paid on the borders, the corruption that I was paying on the way to bribe the traffic officials to Cape Town. When I arrived in Cape Town, the guys came and I said, okay, they said they want their staff. I said, no, you're not going to take your staff unless you pay me. They said, oh, no, Ted, how can we pay you your stuff? We haven't delivered the stuff. I said, no, you can go and speak to the people who are buying the stuff from you, that they must actually pay me. And it just happened that these people, they didn't even have somebody to buy the stuff. So they were now depending on, they must take the stuff and start selling it and then pay me. So I gave them the stuff. I never got paid my money. So I lost a lot of money with this trip. So I couldn't go back to load stuff for people again to go to Malawi and do the business anymore. I discovered that I had chosen a wrong business. Now, when I went home, I sat down and I said to myself, what did I do wrong? Because I lost a lot of money. I lost all my Provident Fund money. I had gotten paid something like 80,000 rands, all of the money that I lost. I was just remaining with a van. And when I was working, I had bought a small car, Opel Corsa, which I was paying money through the bank. So it caused a lot of issues for me because then I had to be paying the car installments. I'm not employed, I'm just sitting at home. But then what I did now was to start researching. I said, let me do research and find out where did I go wrong? What were the mistakes that I had made? And I realized that the number one mistake that I did was I did not do enough research for the business. I did not see if there was a need for my transport business. Do the Malawians who are selling things in South Africa, who are traveling between Malawi and South Africa, do they really need uh, my service? And that was number one. Number two, I did not find out who was going to be my customer. Who is going to be my customer? My customer is the person that buys curios in Malawi and transport them in South Africa to Cape Town to sell them in the curio shop or at the market. Is this person in a position to be able to pay for my service? That's something that I did not do research. So I realized that before you start in a business, the first thing that you need to know is who is going to be your customer. So, you know, they say to you, to the target market, who are you targeting? Is this customer, is there a need for this particular customer? Is this customer going to be able to afford the services that you're going to be offering them? And it was a mistake that I made, and it costed me big time. All right. I did not worry much because, or yes, I was worried because my lifestyle had changed. We struggled a lot, me and my wife and my kids, before I said I could find another job to go and look for another job. So, but I had learned from this mistake. So, for those of you who want to start a business, the first thing that you need to find out is that you might have a great idea, but the people you are targeting, if you can't just start a business without really knowing who's going to be your customer. And once you know who's your customer, you need to know the financial situation of that customer, and also to say, okay, your service itself, are they going to need it? Because you might think that you're providing a solution, but that solution is not fitting with the type of people that you are targeting. And for example, like for me, my customer was willing at that time to load their stuff in a truck and get in the truck and travel from Malawi to South Africa at the border for 5 days and arrive there. They will have all the things offloaded. They will have to fight with the customs there and spend another maybe 2-3 days, and then put it on another truck and load the stuff and up to Johannesburg. In Johannesburg, they have to find another truck and load all the way to Cape Town. In their mind, they're thinking by using trucks, they're saving money. But for me, I would say that they're not saving money because they're spending all the time, and also the time it takes them long to get to Cape Town, they will have spent a lot of money, but also the trouble that they're going to go through. So for me, I thought if I can be the solution, they come there, they load in my truck, and one trip, and they were not even traveling with me, I traveled alone. So for them, it's like they just have to get in the bus, go to Cape Town, and wait for their stuff to arrive. But these particular people, they don't see things in that way. So you have to find out who is going to be your customer. So that was one of the biggest mistakes that I've made in my entrepreneurship journey. It costed me big time because at the end of the day, I lost my truck, I had to sell it, and also I had to lose my car, the Opel Corsa, I had to sell it. I ended up selling in the streets, selling sweets, until I managed to get myself a job. So yeah, I wanted to share with you my story of one of the biggest mistakes that I've ever made in my entrepreneurship career. Thank you very much. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and leave a comment. Thank you.